Welcome back to RBD Block Challenge. I'm Cindy Cloward, and today we are working on block number 13. Lucky 13 is designed by Janet Wecker Frisch, and it is called needlepoint. This is what it looks like in our batiks, and this is what it looks like in our confetti cotton solids, both equally as beautiful. So today I'm working with our batiks. The first thing you're going to need to do is download the pattern from our Riley Blake Designs website. Again, it's called needlepoint, and it gives you all of the piecing instructions, and I've already cut out all of my pieces. So let's get started on working on this block. The first thing it mentions in the pattern is to make half square triangles. Now you'll see here that you're only using 3 half square triangles. You're going to have 1 extra in each of the colorways, so you'll have 4 extra. So let's grab our A squares and our C squares, and we're going to make 4 half square triangles, but we also need to make more than that, so we might as well grab our F, our G, and our H squares at the same time. Now, I'm going to put on my glasses, and if you don't have a Seam So Easy guide, this is the time we're going to mark our white squares corner to corner, and this is our guide, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side. So you put these right sides together, and I'm just going to assemble all these together, and we are going to do just a long, big chain piece. And I already have this marked out. Okay. Again, if you already have your Seam So Easy guide, you're going to put that on the side and line up this 1/4 inch to the side right there. Okay, let's flip these on the other side. Okay, we've got all our half square triangles. I have started, since my seam ripper is so sharp, just clipping through my threads like this with my seam ripper. This works out really nice. And now we're ready to cut between our threads. So we're going to leave a 1/4 inch, or if you've got your line drawn, it'll be a 1/4 inch on each side, or cut down the center of your line. All right, let's take all of our half square triangles over here, and we're going to give them a good press, loosen up those threads, soften up those seams, and then let's just open them up. Put it underneath our clapper, and let's just open up all of our half square triangles. Okay, these are done. Let's bring them back. We're going to square these up to 2.5 inches. You're going to be really glad you have one of these little cute cuts trim it rulers. to get them all these half square triangles squared up. And I like to just, so I'm not doing all sides, pull it in the corner, and as long as that center is lined up, you can do that. Just pull it in the corner so you're just trimming two sides and then your dog ears. Okay, let's trim up our last one. Oh, there it is. So those are all finished. Lots of half square triangles today. Clean up our workspace, and then these are all ready to go. The next thing we need to do is we need to grab our B squares and these two D squares, or rectangles. I'll just mark two, and the other two I'm not going to mark. I'm going to use my Seam So Easy guide. So this time when we mark corner to corner, this is going to be our sew line. We're going to put these on each side of our rectangle, and it's going to make this unit. So when you're doing this, make sure you go opposite. We'll sew one at a time, and it's going to go opposite. But since I like to chain piece, I'm going to grab two more. I'll use my Seam So Easy guide on the other one. And sometimes when I'm doing this, I just do a hair on the outside of that line, just so I make sure I'm not going over the line. It's just right next to it, maybe it's just a hair on the other side. Put this on there like that. Sometimes I give it a quick press for temporary heat adhesive so it doesn't move. I'll line that up just a hair to the inside of that line. So I'm doing the same thing on this unmarked square. So that's good to go. Just gonna pull that. Double check that. Yep, good to go, good to go. Then that's going to go opposite. I'm going to stitch from here to here. And I'm just going a hair to the outside of that line. That one. I just line that hair on this side of the line. Okay, those look good to go. Now you do a double check before you trim. Just trim it down to a 1/4 inch on each side. Okay, on the mirror opposite side. There we go. And then on the opposite side. Okay, let's go press. All right, let's press these open. Gonna flip and turn. There we go. Those are ready to go. Let's start assembling our quilt block. If you follow the pattern, you'll notice that there's these 5 white squares. So we're gonna put that in the center. There's a red on each side. That's our E square. So those are on each side. And then you can see this hole in the center. So that looks really good. Now, if you'll take the rest of your white squares, they go on the top, the sides, and the top. Now, a reminder that you will not use one of these squares. So let's just start over here. Just look for placement. I think that goes that way. There we go. So those 3 are going that way. I think right next to it is the pink. And then our extra, you can put it in your pile of extra blocks, extra pieces, and make something fun with it later, at a later date. So there, that is ready to go. Now the pattern tells you to assemble in these rows like this. So I am just gonna follow the pattern and we are gonna assemble row by row. I just flip these all over. And you're gonna take this over to your machine. And if it makes you feel better to pin, it's a great time to pin each one of these. But since I've got them all laid out, I'm just gonna grab them one at a time. And just sew down the side. Having this right next to your machine is just so handy. Okay, let's lay these out. And normally when I'm assembling a block, I don't clip my threads in between, but since we have such a long piece, I am gonna clip my threads in between. You can use your scissors. Again, I'm just gonna grab this seam ripper real fast. So now I'm gonna work on this row, the rows that don't have the long rectangles. So let's just sew every other one. We still want a chain piece, but we're gonna just work at the 3 rows at a time now. Okay, now all of our rows are looking good. I'm gonna clip between here, and it gives you tips on pressing because you've got a lot of seams and you want to nest these seams. So I'm going to press these outside pieces, they're going to be pressed in. And then this piece is going to be pressed out. This is going to be pressed in, out, and these end being pressed in. So take them to your pressing station. You can take the whole thing. And let's just give them a good press. This will make a difference in nesting your seams. So that's why we give the recommendation right now. So that looks good there. Those are going in. That's going out. Okay, let's bring it over here. Let's start nesting our seams. Now that we've got those pressed, grab those bird pins. Just start nesting your seams. Those won't line up, but if you've sewn it right, they'll create that point right there. So I still like to pin it there. We also have some really nice glass head pins that are aqua, so I'm using those as well. They're a little finer, so they slip in really nicely, especially on those thick seams. You can do one seam at a time, or you can pin them all. I'm just going to do one seam at a time because it's pretty bulky. Okay, I'm going to press with each of these seams. Again, set your seams, soften them up, then let's open them up. What you want to see is your points all coming together right there, and then that half square triangle lining up there. So that's looking good. You really only have two seams to line up here. All right, let's open them up. And that's what we want to see, that point lined up with that edge, that point right there. It's coming together great. Like I mentioned, it's not a hard pattern, but you just have to cut correctly, sew correctly, and it really does come together beautifully. Now we're just getting closer and closer to being done. I have a couple places to pin. All right, let's press this last seam. Open it up. Oh, I just love how this comes together. See my points there? It's all coming together. So I'm going to move this over here. And let's square up. And I can't see anywhere that I need to trim up at all. That's a good feeling. And your needlepoint quilt block is finished. If you take it step by step at a time, it just turns out beautifully. We can't wait to see what Janet Wecker Frisch does with her own block. It's going to be fun to see. But join us next time for block number 14, Mountain Peaks by Melissa Mortensen.